Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Lily. I am so happy that you're here with me. In today's video, I am going to do a trash to treasure with this. Do you know what this is? Can you guess what this is? I will tell you. These are the little inserts that come when you buy a new pair of shoes. So they kind of stuff them into the shoe, and then there's tissue in there, and this kind of keeps the shape of the shoe, especially when they are like small ballet slippers. In fact, that's what these came in. I bought some flats and I was taking the packaging out of the shoe, and then I spotted these little treasures. I know everything has potential, and it is a sturdy cardboard and it looks like a straw. Can you see the opening there? You can't use it as a straw, but it looks like a straw except really sturdy. And then it's bent here, and this is what kind of keeps the heel in place. And there's two, of course, one for each shoe. And I saved them because I thought I have to come up with an idea and how to repurpose this. I'm always up for a challenge. And do you remember in a recent video, I said, if you have anything that you would like to see me repurpose, I'm always up for a challenge. And so I think this falls into that category. What do you think I'm going to do with this? I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to show you. I don't know if it's going to work. It could be a fail or it could be a total success. Let's find out. But you know that I love turning trash to treasure. I love repurposing junk and giving items like this a whole new look. It is what I enjoy doing. Are you ready to get started? Let's go to the Crafty Loft. Let's go see if this is a win or a fail. Let's go.
In today's video, I will be working from scratch, which means that I have not created a prototype to show you what the end result is going to look like. I thought it would be fun for me to work in the raw. This way you could see kind of like what my process is like. I will try things out. You know, I've grabbed the washi tape, but I'm going to change things up in a little bit. And then I grab some items that I would like to work with, like the gold embossing powder. And so you'll see that I have the embossing ink and my heat gun ready to go, along with my adhesives and some of the tools that I think I will need. As I move along, I will reach for other things. And I have an idea when I first started this, and when I saw those paper straws, I kind of knew in what direction I wanted to go in, but I wasn't sure what the execution was going to be like. So this is it. This is it in the raw, you know, a craft with me. Let's see if this is going to work out. But I assure you, it will be worth your while. At the very end, I'm actually very happy with the way this turned out, and I think you're going to like it too. So the very first thing that I am going to do is cut the paper straw, or it's basically a cardboard tube. I'm going to cut the tube up into pieces that are just a little bit over an inch. And I cut these at the fold line. They were about 1.5 inches, and that's a good size too. And can you tell what I'm going to do by me cutting it? I'll share with you what I'm going to do. I don't want you to wait until the end. I am going to create some paper beads with the cardboard tube. I think it's perfect. Most of the work has already been done, and I am just going to embellish and turn these into paper beads. In the past, like many years ago, I worked with something very similar. I rolled up scrap pieces of paper and formed them into little tubes, into the shape of like little mini paper straws, and embellished to create some charms. And then I've also worked with paper beads by using paper straws. So it's kind of playing into what I've already kind of done in the past. So when I saw this tube, I knew it had potential, and I knew what I wanted to do with it. And it's really sturdy, so it's going to make for a really nice paper bead. And then once you see it all embellished, I think you're going to be happy. I'm happy with the results. And I'm taking my little pliers so that I have to play with it a little bit because when I cut it, it kind of smushed the end. So I'm just making sure that it stays in its tube shape. So I'm using my pokey tool, I'm using the end of a paintbrush and my little pliers to kind of bring it back in shape. So these are the 2 cardboard tubes all cut up. And now I'm going to move on to the next step. I am going to decorate the outside of the cardboard. I did think about leaving it as it is. I like working with craft paper, but then I also like embellishing. So let's embellish. I'm going to begin by using washi tape. And you'll notice that I will struggle a little bit with the washi tape because I couldn't get it to stick for some reason. Maybe I should have used the glue stick instead, or even held it down a little bit. But if you are going to give this a try, and maybe you don't have these cardboard tubings, but maybe you have sturdy paper straws or sturdy paper that you can roll into a tube. Use a tacky glue, something that will really grab on. I think it's because it's shaped like a cylinder. It was just a little bit tricky to get the washi tape to roll with the tube. And you would think it'd be easy. Maybe it was my long fingernails. I don't know, but I did struggle a little bit. And all I'm doing is covering the craft paper with the washi tape. And if the washi tape is longer than the tube, I'm just going to take my scissors and cut the excess off right up to the end. And I'm going to use washi tape on a couple of the tubes, but then I'm going to move on. The great part about starting this project is that as I was working, I was developing new creative ideas. And I know that including me, we overthink things sometimes. And I always say, because I often get asked, how do you start? You just have to start. Grab the supplies you think you're going to use and just begin, because as you move on, you are going to generate those ideas and you're going to want to incorporate other things as well that may be more fun or even easier to work with. And that's what you are going to see as we progress into the video. And so right now, I'm just using what I initially thought would be a good idea, using the washi tape. And I love the washi tape, but for some reason, for this project, I don't think I would do this again. Or, I say that now. And then in the future, you see me doing it again because I want to give things the benefit of the doubt and, give them another go around. But as of right now, I probably won't use washi tape to make these little paper beads because something better came along. Oh my gosh. So start with your project, and then it's okay if you go in a new direction and try out new things. And I really like the way this video kind of moved along because you are going to see how I'll start with one thing and then move on to something else. Instead of having the end project for you, perfecting it off camera and then showing, oh, look how easy it was to make these paper beads. It wasn't. So many things were going through my mind. Okay, so here is where I bring in some old book page. The book page, let me tell you, the book page was absolutely perfect. It is thin, it's pliable, and I switched over to the glue stick, and that made the paper adhere so much better to the little tube. I did have to hold it for just a moment, and then it was so easy to roll. You don't want to use a heavy paper for this. So even thin collage papers, but book page is, in my opinion, perfect. And then I already had some book page that I had doodled on. I have a lot of book pages. So what I've been doing lately is splattering the pages with paint and doodling hearts, painting hearts, just whatever. Just it's really nice because it's a very free type of art form to kind of get the creative juices flowing. As I've recently mentioned, I just came back from a trip. I was gone for over a month, and I struggled a little bit to get those creative juices flowing. So I begin to doodle, and that really helps me. So having this book page on the side, it was when I looked over and saw that I had that book page, I thought to myself, I wonder if that would work better. And yes, it works 1,000 times better. I don't know why I struggled with the washi tape. What I'm trying to do also is use the supplies that I'm trying to go through all my supplies and use different neglected supplies in my projects. I have a lot of washi, and so I'm trying to incorporate more of the washi into my projects. And so I tried, but I also have a lot of book pages. And look at how pretty that looks. You can still see some of the design on the little tube, and I really, really like how that is turning out. So this is a win. I love this. So if you have excess book pages, doodle on them. And you know what's funny? As I was doodling on these book pages, I didn't even tell anyone out loud, but you know, the internet reads your mind, and so does YouTube, because shortly after I was doodling, I came across one of Joey's videos. You know, Joey's just recently been back. She took a break, and she's now been doing videos again, and I just love her content. So she has this video that is, I think, 3 years old, where she does something similar with book pages. Oh, she actually collages on the book pages. It is a great video to watch. In fact, I'm going to link it down below because I think that one will be worth your while too. She takes book pages and she does collage work on them, and then she just adds them to her journal. So she makes these pages that are just loose and then incorporates them into her journal. I thought it was genius. And I've not collaged on the book pages. I've just been painting and doodling. But it is a great project to do to reuse and repurpose your book pages. Anyway, I will have her video in the description area below because that really inspired me. I am just taking the book pages and cutting them into strips. And if they're a little bit wider, you know, I'll trim the excess off the end of the tube. I'm trying to make them be just a little bit shorter because of the next step that I have in mind. I love making paper beads, and I haven't made them in a while. I like using them as dangles from the center pages of my journals. I also like to add them on the charms that dangle from the spine. I love making them. It's a time for me when I make fussy projects like this. It is a fussy project, but I enjoy it because it slows me down a little bit. I tend to go really fast day to day, and I don't want to live that way. I don't want to be working in hyper speed. I want to enjoy my day and do things in I just want to slow down and surround myself in a slower and more calm environment. And I think one of the reasons why I'm always going so fast is because I'm trying to get as many things done in my day. Like, I take full advantage of my day. I don't waste any of my day. And there's so many things that I want to do. And so I go really fast to try to get all of those things into my day. And there are nights where I'm nodding off. I'm so tired. And I refuse to go to sleep. Like, I don't want to go to sleep. I want to keep doing whatever it is that I'm doing. But I'm trying to get better at that and get myself to bed at a decent time, because I would rather get up super early than go to bed super late. And I like getting at least 8 hours of sleep, or else, no one's going to function if you're not sleeping right. So I like to get my sleep in and get those 8 hours in. So that's what I'm working on. I've set an alarm on my phone so that it reminds me when it's bedtime. And then I have my alarm set up for first thing in the morning. And what I really enjoy? When I get out of bed before my alarm. That's like a win for me. Okay. I know I go off on these crazy tangents, okay? We're talking about sleep, and let's focus on the project. I'm now moving on to the next step. I'm taking my embossing ink, dipping the end of my little tube, and getting that ink on it, because I am going to be adding some gold embossing to the end. This is not a me idea. I have seen this in the past, and I'm sure you have too when it comes to making paper beads. But I really like that detail. The detail of the gold embossing at the end. And so I'm just going to sprinkle some of my gold embossing powder. I keep it in little acrylic drawers. These are typically meant for cosmetics or jewelry, and they're little cases. I'll show you in the future, because even in the craft video that I recently did, I'll link that up above, but I really didn't go, I went kind of fast. So little by little, I will show you some of the things that live on my shelves in my crafty loft. And my embossing powders are all in acrylic drawers, and they've been in those acrylic drawers for years. Before that, I used to keep them in like Rubbermaid or little plastic containers with a lid, and they would just stack up high. But having the embossing powders in little acrylic drawers is a game changer. And I only keep the ones that I use the most, like clear, gold, black, those colors, in acrylic drawers. All the others I keep in little bottles. But anyway, so you could see how I am adding more of the gold embossing powder. So once I heated it up the first time, while it is still hot, I'm dipping it back into the gold embossing powder, and it layers it up, and the finish is a little bit better. Some of them did come out wonky, not very smooth, but I still like how it looks. These are little paper beads that I'm going to be adding to junk journals. And so it's okay if they look a little bit junky. It is a true trash to treasure. And repurposing is my jam. And seeing something that would have eventually, ended up in the trash bin, and then making a pretty little bead out of it, even if it's kind of wonky, I'm still going to love it. I am going to do this to both ends. And I probably won't show you each and every bead that I do. The project took me an hour and a half to do unedited. And so I did cut out a lot of repetition, and I tried really hard to get this video to 30 minutes, and you know what? I could have if I tried harder. But then I wouldn't be able to talk to you. I'd have to hurry and say the things that I want to say. And so this is what you get. You get me. talking nonsense about sleeping. But no, seriously, on a serious note, it is important for you to get, to get sleep. And there have been times where I have suffered from insomnia, and so getting myself into a good sleep routine is really important to me. And my little ink pad was kind of dry, and I'm now refilling it. I don't use embossing very often. What I do enjoy is stamping sentiments and gold embossing those, but I haven't done that in a while. Maybe that's one of those projects where I need to just sit and golden stamp and gold emboss a ton of little sentiments. So that would be fun. And I've done that in the past where I'll take some craft paper, take a rubber stamp, as one with a nice little sentiment, and then stamp it and then gold emboss it, cut them all up, put them in one of my little acrylic drawers, and then keep them there so that they are at the ready for my journals. Things that I've done in the past but I don't do very often, and then when I make projects like this, it reminds me that I really should go back and create more of those things because I enjoy it. And it gives me a reason to use up my abandoned craft projects or craft items. So now this is going to work so much better. It is nice and re-inked. And I will continue to emboss. When you use a heat gun, make sure that you keep the heat away from your hands and your fingers because it is extremely hot. And I know it looks that it is really close to my hand, but the hot air is nowhere near my fingers. I just wanted to share that. See how I'm dipping it back in? If I see that there are some areas that don't look very smooth or even, then while it's hot, I just dip it back into the powder. And that gives it a more of an even enamel look. And this is where I begin to kind of edit a lot of the repetition. But I really do want to give you a good visual so that you can, if you have embossing powder and you have paper straws or you have, the tools to make paper beads, gold embossing the ends is a fun little trick because it looks like you've added the gold topper beads at the ends. I watched someone make some of these a while back. I don't think they use gold embossing powder. I believe they just used distress ink on the ends, and they looked like little, I think she said, these ended up looking like little cigarette butts. So they still turned out really cute, but I remember her saying that. I can't remember who it was though. This is where I'm going to change things up a little bit. And I thought, what if I use eyelets? Because I vaguely remember someone already doing this, and doing the gold embossing reminded me of this. Let's see if it works. This is where, again, I'm trying things and it's a little bit fussy, but also a game changer. It turns out really nice. So I'm just going in and making sure that the eyelet is going to fit into the little tube. And once I figure out that it was like the perfect size, like it was meant to be. And I don't remember the exact size of these little eyelets, but it all depends on the size of your tube that you have. And I do have different sizes of eyelets. And if I make these again, let's say with paper scraps or straws, I'll just play around with the eyelets until, hopefully they fit. But in today's video, they fit. So that was a nice, happy accident. I wouldn't know if I didn't try. And even if I ruin a couple of items along the way, or, what would it be? Sacrificial craft items? Sometimes that happens. We're playing around and some things get ruined. But if at the end it worked out, then it was well worth it. I'm adding a little bit of glue to the end of the tube so that it is permanently attached. It was snug as I was placing it in, but I just want to make sure it doesn't fall off. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue. And then getting glue all over my hands. My sister and I were having a conversation the other day, and she asked if I have a video where I make, I like how it turned out. And here's the other one with the washi tape. She asked if I have a video where I make charms. And I think I do have a couple. Maybe, I can't remember. I'll have to go through my video inventory. And I knew that I wanted to make this video. So I was talking to her after I made this video. And I sent her a teaser video. And I said, you had asked me if I had made a video on how I make charms. I said, well, guess what? I had a trash to treasure video that I just worked on. And as I was making the video, I ended up making a charm. So you will see as we move forward how I'm going to use these paper, the paper beads, the paper tubes in my junk journal. Okay? So it's not just making the beads, but I'm going to use them in one of my junk journals. So yeah, and so so I said to her, but I'm not going to tell you what it is until you watch my video. So there you go. So I'm going to continue and adding. I really like the eyelets, especially the gold eyelets. It just adds that really nice finishing touch. And it makes it look so much prettier with that little gold embellishment. Excuse me, it is early morning today, and I am sitting here doing the voiceover and drinking my coffee. Oh, it's so good. It is beautiful outside. I ran some errands yesterday, and as I was driving, I look around because I want to admire and enjoy the scenery. And everything is blooming. There are tulips in my neighbor's gardens. All of the trees are flowering. And there are a lot of flowering pear trees in this area. And they just look so beautiful the way they line up the streets. And here at my parents' house, there is a large magnolia tree. And it blooms so beautifully. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. But the blooms don't last very long. Maybe, I don't even think they last 30 days. But we all take pictures of the blooming magnolia as soon as it starts blooming because it's just such a short period and I want to preserve the memories of the tree. But as I was driving around and everything looks so pretty. When I left for my trip in February, it was still snowing. And I mean, there's still, our mountains here are still snow-capped. But it was snowing here on the valley. And then when I came back, so I left in February and came back on, was it April 1st? And everything had changed. I was gone for over 30 days. And everything was nice and blooming. It was so pretty. So if you've not been outside in your area and it's blooming, oh, just go outside and enjoy nature. Okay, the next step, as you can see, I've moved ahead. I'm taking Mod Podge. I keep Mod Podge in this old art glitter glue bottle. It's just easier to work with this way. And I am going to give all of the beads a coat of Mod Podge. Because the reason I do this, the book page is very thin, and these are going to be beads that are going to be dangling from junk journals. So I want to make sure that they last a little bit. And the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to use an old little skinny dowel. I have had this little stick for over 10 years. A very, very long time. And I used to use it to make dots when I was painting on ceramics and on glass. And then I would wipe the excess off of the stick. But I've had that little stick for a long time. But look at how perfect it is to hold all of the little tubes. And then I have more paper tubes than I do dowels, but I will use the skinny ends of paintbrushes to hold the little paper beads and then give them a quick coat of the Mod Podge. I'm being careful that I don't add Mod Podge to the ends of the paper beads. This way the paper beads don't stick to one another. And just a nice little coating, and this will give it that finishing touch. I did think about using glossy accents as well, and that is another option. And that'll give it a glossy finish. And then I also thought about doing clear embossing powder. And I have done in the past. Well, I've done the glossy accents, and I've also done clear embossing powder to give paper beads a finish. The glossing powder, the glossy accents just take longer to dry. But a thin coat of the Mod Podge works just as well, and it leaves a matte finish. So these won't be glossy. But they'll be nice and durable. So I'm excited about these little beads. And it just makes me want to create even more paper beads. I do have a paper beading tool. It's almost like a, what is that little tool called? Like for twilling? Twilling. Is that correct? It's very similar to a twilling tool. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But you know what I mean. I need to look it up because I could be giving you wrong information. Twill. Yes. A twill tool. Except the more I say it, the more it sounds incorrect. But a twilling tool. So I have one for making paper beads, but I've not used it yet. So we need to get busy and use our tools. Let me clean up a little bit. This little shop vac is perfect for picking up messes, especially embossing powders and glitter. These did not take long to dry at all. Just in the time I cleaned up the desk and vacuumed it up, these were all dry. I do have a window open because there is a beautiful breeze that was coming in. And now I'm separating them. And look at how nice they look. You know, I wasn't sure. I was skeptical. But look at how beautiful these paper beads now look. I'm in love. Was it worth your time? Please tell me yes. Please leave me a heart emoji in the comments if you feel that this was worthwhile. I'm happy. I'm happy. So now I'm going to take my journal. Have you been watching the Journal with Me videos? I will link that up above for you because that is where I am. This is the journal I'm using for Journal with Me videos. And I mentioned in the very first video that I completely forgot to add little embellishments and beads and things to the center strings of the signatures. And I have it handy. Why not use these new paper beads to add to the center strings? I want to be able to show you how you can use paper beads in your junk journals. I've done this before. A lot of the journals that I have made and put in my Etsy shop have paper beads, and some of them I've even gone further and embellished with wire. But there's so many different options and so many ways to embellish paper beads. I'm grabbing a couple of little drawers that have just some random beads. These are beads that I have picked up from all over the place, Dollar Tree, all the different craft stores, and I have like a little toolbox. I have an organization bin that is meant for tools like screws, like for garage storage. I use that for a lot of the beads and charms. I'm telling you, I have to redo a video to show you what I keep on my craft shelves, which live in my crafty loft. I'm going to add a few of these beads in coordinating colors, and of course I'm using my favorite colors. I love the turquoise, the teals, the pinks. Those are all my favorite. Orange and coral. To keep the beads from falling off the strings, I like to use crimper beads. I know that I could tie a couple knots at the end, but I prefer to use a crimper bead, and these are, and that's what they're called. They're called crimper beads. And they're super tiny, and look how I'm using my nail as a scoop. These are normally things that I do behind the scenes, but here you are. You're getting a good look as to how I work behind the scenes. So I'm going to grab a crimper bead. They come in different sizes, and I'm going to thread. This is hemp twine, and it threads perfectly through the little gold bead. And then I'm going to take my little pliers and I am going to smush it flat, and that will prevent the beads from sliding through the string. And so place the crimper bead exactly where you want it, because once you crimp it, you will not be able to move it. And so I'm just bringing it to the area where I want it on the string, and now I'm just going to press it, and it crimps very easily. Give it a couple presses, and now you have your little crimper bead crimped, and it keeps the beads from sliding through. I really like this little touch. I like it better than tying knots, though I'm not opposed to tying knots. I may tie knots, but a crimper bead, and you'll see that I've used crimper beads in, I don't know, the journals I've made in the last couple of years. And so I will do the same with the other. I thought I needed to use that large threading, that green plastic needle. I thought I would need that to thread the beads, but the hemp twine and the openings on the beads are large enough where I don't have to use a needle. I really like the way the book page looks on the little beads, because it still shows the design that I had doodled on the book page. I think if I do this again, I will make a smaller design on the book pages so it shows even more when I wrap the paper beads. Here's a tip for you. So if you are using beads with a large opening on the strings, and you don't have crimper bead, you have to tie a knot. Sometimes you have to tie 2 or 3 knots to keep the beads from sliding through because the opening is so large. A little tip for you is take a smaller bead, like I just did with this little white one, and then you can tie a smaller knot because the opening is much smaller and it won't slide through. It keeps all the other beads in place. So if you don't have crimper beads, use a smaller bead, and this way you only have to tie 1 knot to keep the beads from sliding off. Did that make sense? Did I make sense? I hope so. I was only going to do the 2 strings here, but I thought while I'm at it, I'm just going to add the beads and to both centers of the signatures. And I'm going to show you how it looks. I like to keep the strings long so the beads can hang from the bottom of the journal, which looks really pretty. But I also like to leave them long so they can dangle from the top of the journal. And it almost looks like I meant to do a spine charm. This is why I leave them that long. I like the way it looks like this too. Don't they look beautiful? I love how these turned out. They look so nice. And now I am going to, this is where I was going to stop. But then I decided to continue and add the beading to the other page. I know you're seeing little sneak peeks of my journal pages. I'm having a lot of fun with the Journal With Me videos. If you would like to get to know me even more, I do share a lot more of my personal life in the Journal With Me videos. I do. They're long videos. They're about an hour long. Not that this one is any shorter, and I try to use, everyday junk into those journals. So almost like a trash to treasure type of journal with me. I think you'll enjoy all of those. So far, I've done 3 episodes. And so if you'd like, again, just a reminder, if you would like to see that, just open up the description area. I'll have all of the videos that I referenced throughout this video linked down below. If you open the description area, you'll see the thumbnails at the very, very bottom. Some of the little crimper beads, they're different sizes. And so I am looking for one that is larger. So when I crimp it, it doesn't go through the opening of the bead because these beads do have larger openings. And if I were to use a small crimping bead, there are some really tiny ones, it would just go right through it. So use the correct size. Those crimping beads I picked up a while back at Joann's. I've not talked about Joann's, but it makes me very sad that Joann's craft stores are closing. Very sad. So, yeah, and I've not been shopping at Joann's, and I know they're having probably some really good deals, but remember, I'm on a no spend. I have all the supplies I've ever wanted here at home, and as tempting as it is to go and get new supplies, I don't need any. So I'm not shopping for new supplies. My sister tells me that I have been saying that I'm on a no spend for 2 years now. She was watching one of my older videos. She says, I was watching your video and you're talking about how you are on a no spend, and you've been saying that for a couple years now. Yes, I have. Sometimes I go and spend a little bit, but I'm trying really hard not to spend anything and just use the supplies that I have. I've got plenty. And then I also have some of you that have been so generous and have sent me such amazing happy mail. And so I want to be able to use up what I have before I bring in anything more into my craft room. I honestly don't have anywhere to store it. So I'm recording this voiceover in my office, which is I'm also using as craft storage. And you could see that when I did the walkthrough of my craft room. I showed you my office too. Look at how cute these turned out. I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate you being here with me in this lengthy video. I know, but if you've been with me for a while, you know that my videos tend to be a little bit long. But look at how beautiful they look. And once I swing them over the top, just all of them together, just hanging over the spine, they look so pretty. If you're here for the first time, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Please like and share so that this can get out there to more people that might find this video helpful. You guys are awesome. Please let me know down below if you have any questions. And was it worth your while? I am so happy with the way this turned out because I honestly didn't think it was going to work. But you know what? It is a win. It is a successful project, and I hope you give it a try. You are all amazing, and I'll see you next time. Bye!